This is a photo of when the grass grew and we had cattle. They were the good old days. And this is another one of our bed and breakfast, which was in the forest on the other side of the property. It's really pretty. It's surrounded by ferns and tall trees. I'm Bonnie Francis and I live in Australia. We're standing on our property, which is north of Melbourne. We're on 100 acres and it's just coming into winter, so it's greening up a bit. But 4 months ago, our house burnt down. After 4 days of temperatures in the 40s, we had a day which went to 47 and we had a bushfire that came through that was basically a firestorm and was unstoppable, and it took out our house and our business. We put all our precious things in one room ready to evacuate, and then we just sat here and waited. And after about 4 hours, it came over the hill and it was absolutely horrifying. It was driven by really, really high winds. It creates its own weather pattern, so it was massive fireballs, smoke, and the forest was just orange. The whole forest was just orange. You couldn't see any trees. And we stood back at our house and we hosed the house and we sat, and for an hour and a half it didn't come near the house. And after about an hour and a half, I decided to leave and took my dogs and loaded them into the car and left. It burnt down the house, it burnt down our business. We had a freestanding bed and breakfast on the other side of the property. It burnt that down. Took out all the forest, took out all the houses in this area. One of our neighbours died. We just took ourselves out of there and went to safety in the city. We've lived here for 20 years, and what was actually quite a productive little property, we ran cattle, sheep, horses, in probably the last 12 years has become very marginalised. The rainfall's dropped, we've had hotter summers, drier winters. We've felt a lot more at risk. Every successive summer we've just felt more and more at risk. We were prepared, and we have been prepared in the past to deal with fire, and most people have what's known as a fire plan. They have fire pumps and hoses, and you keep debris away from the house and you keep your gutters clean. But the sort of weather that we've been having the last 10 years and the sort of fires that we've been having have become progressively more dangerous and indefensible. And I've seen a gradual deterioration in the climate here, and you'd have to assume that it's linked to climate change. And the sort of fires that we've experienced here in the past were nothing like this. And a normal fire we could have dealt with, we would have stopped it at the house. We were really well organised. We had cleared land out the front of the house. But this was a firestorm. It wasn't a normal fire, and the weather leading up to it just wasn't normal. It's so unusual to get a day in the 40s, but to have successive days in the 40s is just so unusual. I'm not an expert, but this has cost us our livelihood. It's cost the local community enormously. People have died here. It will take years for people to get their lives back in order, both on a material and psychological level. The psychological impact of this fire is just enormous. And there's no reason to believe that it won't happen again if things don't change. This is a microcosm of what could actually happen on a larger scale, whether it's fire or flood. This is a warning to people, and people really need to take a look at what's happened here and what's been destroyed. I'd like to see this tackled by the world leaders. I'd like to see this tackled on a global level. I'd like to see, it seems to be you can't expect individuals to take full responsibility for this, and I think it'd be good to see some leadership from government and some commitment from government to make people like us feel as though our efforts is actually meaning something, and that there's some commitment on a global scale.